better job at this. I just wanted to conclude on telling you about how all of the survey happened. So we reached out to about 1,500 individuals across the country. The proportion of the respondents has been weighted. So the survey has about 59% of the individuals from Punjab, 24% from Sindh, 13 from KPK, and 5% from Balochistan. The proportion of the respondents is as is in Pakistani census, 65% rural and 35% urban. We have different age distributions. We have different male and female distribution. In order to randomize, we use the gold standard random digit dialing methodology, and which has been fairly successful, and it's a very close proximate to face-to-face approach that we usually follow in Gallup surveys. So with this, I wanted to conclude and thank you all for attending the session, and we would now be addressing any questions that have been provided in the Q&A session.
So Mr. Niaz Hussain has asked about the total sample size of the survey. I think Bilal mentioned this on the last slide. It was 1,500 respondents. Bilal, could you just go over the methodology once more?
Yes, as you all know that the corona situation has also locked down the country, and public transportation is not available. So face-to-face interviews cannot happen. We're also not interviewing people because of health and safety concerns for our interviewing force as well as for the people. So we don't want to be spreading the virus unduly. So we use the telephone approach. So using a call center that we have set up at Gallup, we randomly draw mobile phone numbers from across the country. So Pakistan has about 90% coverage in terms of mobile phone. So 9 out of 10 households say that at least one person in the household has a mobile phone. So to that extent, 10% of the population is excluded because they don't have a mobile phone. From the survey, which is not a very large exclusion, but it's something that had to be done because face-to-face interviews could not happen. In order to draw the numbers, we use the random digit dialing methodology, which is essentially allowing every respondent, every mobile phone number, an equal probability of being selected within this sample. We would be sharing the presentation with all of you as soon as the meeting ends. We will also be uploading the video. So we have from Lauren, we have a question if we've done polling in Sindh and how the Sindh government's response and lockdown measures, popularity of their lockdown measures has been. So we've been tracking the provincial government's responses as well. Not in the wave 4, but in the wave 3, we looked at we asked individuals if what was their opinion on the provincial government's response, and then what was their opinion on the federal government's response. So in Sindh, in the wave 2, we saw large support in the Karachi district for government's action for vis-a-vis lockdown. So there was a very large support. But across the next waves, we see that Karachi versus the rest of the Sindh is now behaving in a very different manner. The support for the lockdown is now the lowest in Karachi. It is possibly also because Karachi was the first one to lock down. So in terms of being tired and being economically affected by the lockdown, Karachi is the worst. Our numbers suggest that the lockdown support in Karachi is the lowest. In general, the Sindh government also was able to keep was also able to enjoy the support. Its numbers are generally the lowest whenever we poll in terms of popularity of the government. And yet, in the crisis times, their numbers were also higher, but the lowest among the four provinces that we've been polling on. The lockdown, it's a very developing story. With respect to lockdown and Sindh government, the numbers have been rising up and down. At the current moment, they are the lowest among the in the four waves that we have looked into. Hasim asks, yeah, Asim asked that there seems to be an up and down in the government in the public perception. So vis-a-vis the lockdown and the mosques with respect to the people attending the mosques, people have been changing their opinion and their behavior. And is this something that what is our opinion on this? So, it, one of the opinions that we do have is that the government's response and action has been swaying from one direction to the other. So, if you look at the federal government to begin with, it was very against the lockdown at all. And then somewhere in the beginning weeks, Punjab announced lockdown. Federal government followed suit. And now, when the government now the government is now advocating again not to be locking down. So partly the public opinion is swaying as the government's own policies change. It is people are looking up to the government in the crisis times, and the government's opinion and the government's action is changing that. With respect to the mosque and and other sort of religious activity controlling measures, we also think that there was almost a two-thirds support for the Friday prayer ban to continue, and yet the government backed down from there and allowed for the Tarawih prayers to happen. So in some sense, there is the government, the population was in favor of continuing the lockdown of the mosque activities, and yet the government did not follow the public opinion and followed a more minority opinion for various reasons, and allowed for the Tarawih prayers to happen. So there is, to some extent, there is a disjuncture between what the public is saying and what the government is doing, and it's partly in response to that we're doing this survey work and in order to inform the government, and we have had good conversations from with the government, a number of our opinion poll results have been used by the government in the policy making. We are also currently working on further waves of this study, and we wanted to, and we'll be looking at various aspects. For example, the current study is also looking at how um, uh, people are responding to the coronavirus testing that's happening. So quite a lot of smart opening up of the countries associated um, with the government being able to do large testing, and there is some evidence to suggest that there is resistance now from the people to get tested. So we are currently working to look at how that is being played and what are some of the hurdles that people have in their mind while they say that they would not get tested. Is it to do with the video circulating of the police manhandling people? Is it to do with who've been detected to have corona? Is it to do with quarantine? So to some extent, we are as things progress, we are in working with the government to ensure that the policymakers are informed on all of these measures. Bilal mentions we would that he joined late, and would he be sharing the results? Yes, we would be sharing the results and presentation with you. And if you have any questions, we would be very happy to answer them. And the anonymous attendee mentions that is 1500 a good sample size for Pakistan based surveys. So with 1500 sample size, we can expect about 2 to 3% error margin at the Pakistan level picture. For the provincial picture, the number, the error margin increases. Currently, we think that this provides a good snapshot picture of the Pakistani public's opinion, and um, um, but for further understanding, we need to zoom in on populations. So, for example, for one of these questions, we are particularly zooming in on Lahore district itself. For other questions, we are zooming in on particular provinces. So, for example, for the campaign messaging part, we saw that it was less working in KP, for example. So, we're now zooming in on that. So for it provides a first-hand, first-cut good information. That first-cut good information provides intervention areas where significantly more polling needs to be done. So we are looking into additional sources of funding and are working on expanding the. But as a snapshot of the country, it provides a good enough sample. Um, Maaz Ahmed asks, maybe may I please know about the Talim Ghar? Do we have numbers to know how many kids are doing? So we are looking at, we're currently polling wave 5 results, and we're working with the Ministry of Education. And we are asking that precise question: how many people are actually watching the Tele Talim initiative? What is the perception of the people with respect to that initiative, and how many people are viewing it, and what areas or avenues need to be improved in that activity. Um, um, Hassan Raza mentions, asks, what are the reason why people are not listening to the phone, specifically in Sindh? And he also mentioned, is there an educational background issue? So the phone message is, as you know, is being delivered as one calls up someone on a mobile phone. So because of that medium being used, there are certain hurdles. So the first hurdle being that it is being listened to by people who are using a mobile phone. And as we know, mobile phone usage is significantly, I mean, although it is very high, it has regional differences, it has demographic differences, it has age differences. So areas of the country which are less connected with the mobile phone, segments of the population who are less using mobile phone, they are showing or saying that they have not listened to the message, or they have listened to the message less completely than the others. It's also because the message gets played once someone calls another person. So a lot of people are receiving calls but not making calls, partly because they are not literate, mobile literate enough to make calls. So someone calls them rather than they calling someone else. So it's also partly a function of that people are. So we have been in touch with the Digital Pakistan team, and we're working with eOcean, which came up with this wonderful idea, and we're working to identify spots or segments or areas within the country which are left out of this campaign, and maybe they need to be sort of made aware through either robocalls or through other means or ways of reaching out to them, maybe activating physically respondents, and maybe reaching out to them in person through the lady health workers, and informing them what people should be doing and should not be doing. So digital has its limitations. We have a digital divide in the country, and that's why the messaging campaign may have some blackout areas that need to be further addressed. Um, Noor, we had another question that I'm missing.
No, I think that's about it. You answered all the questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're overwhelmed by the response, and we'll definitely keep you posted about similar webinars and activities in future. If not now, please feel free to drop us your queries or feedback at caf@gallup.com.pk. Let me just type this out as well. So if you have any further questions, please shoot us an email, and we'll be more than happy to respond. As Bilal mentioned, the fieldwork for the fifth wave of the tracker is already underway, and we hope to continue conducting more trackers to monitor public opinion till we're out of the pandemic, inshallah. Um, and lastly, I think we would be more than happy to collaborate with you or your organization to create more public knowledge on the subject. And we're always open to suggestions in terms of the questions that should be asked in the tracker as well. So, yes. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you so
Take care.
much. It's a pleasure
Take care.
talking to you. Look forward to
Hafiz.
remaining engaged.